Really, 007.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Bond Report. My name is Chris, aka the Beard of Blofeld. Today I'm joined by Mr. Thomas of Really 007, the podcast you all know and love. Yes, we've been trying to make this happen for a few weeks now, actually over a year, truthfully,
Oh
because when
yeah,
I was in London last year, sir, if I recall, we talked about doing this, and that's been a hot minute.
that was so good to see you in London. I mean, it must feel if you're not from England that all these events go on in the capital of England, and that's like the centre of the Bond universe in many ways, where, of course, Bond was born and created and filmed. So to see you guys come all the way over is just, it's an honour, and you're going to be back, aren't you, for David Arnold?
I am, yes. Thank you very much, man. You're too kind. Yeah, I know. I it's become a yearly thing for me at this point. I plan on visiting London pretty much every year consistently for as many years in a row as I can. To have the experience of being at these events, it makes such a difference. And I know you can attest to that. Doing things online like this is great. And I'm glad that we can stay connected through things like this. But at the end of the day, being in person, clinking glasses together, sharing a moment, sharing a story, a handshake, a hug, whatever it takes. That really is what has made me thrive in this community and push forward in connections.
Yeah, long may it continue, and I'm sure it will.
Oh, it will. Absolutely. Very excited for David Arnold this year, too.
Oh,
That's going to be a blast. But we're not here to talk about David Arnold.
no.
We're here to talk about Casino Royale. But I do want to talk about you guys real fast because, I mean, brother, you guys have been going now for quite some time. You have
Yeah.
308 episodes and counting.
Wow. Well, you've obviously know our stats better than we do. Is it really
Yeah,
that
man.
many? That's incredible.
Yeah,
Gosh.
300. I mean, you're probably at this point now from our conversation, you're probably closer to 310, 312. But I
Yeah.
mean, you guys have interviewed so many people. Some of my favorites have been Alessandro Cremona, aka Marco Sciarra
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Spectre. That was so cool. I loved that interview. And I loved that there was a bit of like a translation, like a language barrier there. And you
Yeah.
guys found a way around it. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah. That was really interesting. That was another one that took 2 or 3 years. We were originally going to try and meet him when he was over in London, but we couldn't make that work. And then it was just trying to message him. It was just, as you say, a language barrier. So we somehow got around it because there was a guy at John in our podcast, a guy who went to his church who is Italian, who speaks fluent Italian, and he volunteered to help us out, and we somehow got through it. So yeah, it was really good because I don't think we haven't really heard from him before, and somebody from more recent Bond films was really big for us because obviously a lot of them are still working, aren't they? They're still proper working actors, so it's very difficult to pin them down. But he was great, and I think again, he didn't realize how much love there was for his role in the film. So it was
Yeah.
great to chat to him.
Well, I know you've also talked with, I mean, another big name, older name at this point, but like Holly Johnson, who was, of course, she was BB Doll and For Your Eyes Only. You guys have got Martine Beswick, the two-time Bond girl from, I mean, the Sean Connery era. Yeah, God
Yeah,
love
yeah,
her. And I got to meet her in London last year as well for London Gather Raw, and what
yeah,
just a class act, absolute
yeah.
class act. And then, more recently, you've actually interviewed Chris Corbel.
Yes.
Oh my lord! Like now, that's a name in the industry. If you know Bond, you know who Chris Corbel is. And I mean, you guys got to talk with him about his 15 different films that he's worked on. Tell me about him, man. Like, what was it like talking
Yeah,
with that guy?
that was crazy. Like you say, unless you sort of know a bit about the films and the background behind the camera stuff, you might not have heard of him. But the guy, he's an absolute living legend. And also, it's not just Bond. He helped design the Batmobile for the Chris Nolan films. He's done all those stunts and everything. But yeah, it was actually a 007 GB event that he was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I was there, and we were talking to his wife for ages. Didn't realize it was his wife, and then asked for a picture of me and my wife. And then Chris came over and said, "Oh, hello, Lynn." He was like, "Oh, right, oh, brilliant." And yeah, we just got chatting, and I just sort of said, "We love you so much. We'd love to do an interview with you." And amazingly, he was like, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to," because he's finished the special effects now. He's on to his writing, directing his own stuff, so he's got a
Yeah.
bit more free time at the moment. And yeah, I can't believe no one really has interviewed him or anything before. But it was just like we could have gone on for hours and hours.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible legacy. And like say, 15 Bond films. How many other people have done that other than like people who've gone like Desmond Llewellyn? It's just crazy.
Right. Well, I mean, it's crazy. Like, if you actually watch any of the special features on the DVDs or
Yeah,
Blu-rays, you see this guy.
he's on
Like
them all, isn't he?
he's on like every one of
Yeah,
them, talking about like how it took him this much time to create this action scene or that action scene or that prop, and I mean, so he's I'm sure he's a fountain of knowledge. And the interview you guys had was great. I really enjoyed it. So all that to say that absolutely deserving of your Golden Bullet Award nomination 2025, my friend. That's
well, thank
exciting.
you, thank you. But you, I must say, congratulations to you because you've really, risen quite quickly up the ranks, and you've beaten us to a best YouTube channel nomination. So you must be doing something.
I'm
No,
trying,
but it
man.
is
I'm trying.
crazy, isn't it? To be
It is.
amongst the company of like Calvin Dyson and David Zaritsky, it's just amazing.
That was a real honor, man. I feel very blessed to say the
Yes.
least. It's been a year of blessings, and I continue to count them, and I continue to
Yeah.
strive to just give back as much as I can. And I feel like that's just the mantra you have to have.
Yeah.
You don't get into this with selfish intentions and come out on top. You don't.
No.
It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody who follows you. It doesn't serve the community. And unless you are serving the community, why are you doing it? That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, apart from your brilliant content, I think the fact that you make an effort and you go to these events, you meet people, you chat with Bond fans, I'm sure that must make a big impression because otherwise it could be just some guy in the bedroom, couldn't it, who's never met anyone, never had a chat about it. They just got their
Right.
own thoughts. And I do
Right.
think you involve so many different people, and that's our mantra too. I think we need to all work together. I love the collaborations, and yeah, we just keep doing what you're doing, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You too, man. You too, brother. I really do appreciate it. It's very kind of you. But everybody at home right now is looking at this going, okay, guys, enough like patting each other on the back here. We came here to watch a Casino Royale video.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give them some stuff, give them
Yeah.
what they came for. It's 20 years. It's 20 years since Casino Royale. Can you believe it?
No, I genuinely can't believe it because this is the Bond film that I specifically remember. This is the first sort of big change. So Pierce Brosnan was like Bond when I was growing up. That
Mm-hmm.
was almost like a coronation. There wasn't any chat. Oh, who's going to take over Tim or anything like that, really, when I can't remember it. So to have Daniel Craig unveiled a new, it was quite a big gap, wasn't there? There was like 4 years at the time was a long gap. And a new direction, totally new ideas. So it did really feel like the end of one era and the start of a new era.
Right. Right. And I think that's where we're sitting now.
Yeah,
We are absolutely in the sauce of exactly that right now. We're all sitting here
exactly. Yeah,
going, what is the new era going to look like? But I kind of have like a little sizzle question here for you, like a little taster question.
yeah, yeah.
Are you a Daniel Craig fan?
I am a fan of his own interpretation of Bond. He wouldn't
Okay.
be my favorite Bond,
Okay.
but I think it's good that he came at the right time. I think each Bond actor has been cast at the correct time, and I don't know, they're the right Bond for the mood, the right Bond for their decade or whatever that
Mm,
they were in. Because people sometimes go back and say the 70s films are a bit silly, but that's what people loved at the time, and that's why they were popular. So I think at this, mid 2000s, you had, like we've already mentioned, the Dark Knight trilogy. There were quite a few more gritty, serious films, and audiences were a bit fed up of the fantastical. So I think he came at the right time. We might talk about it later, but there's a difference maybe between this film and what came after, in terms of the quality and the direction that they were going in. But yeah, he's not. He wouldn't be our favourite Bond, but you can't deny 5 Bond films. He's brought it to another generation, and he's kept the Bond legacy going for, as we said, another 20 years, which is amazing.
that's a big a caveat for Daniel Craig is the fact that he was in the role for the longest, even though he didn't have the most films. And what that did is that for an entire generation across multiple decades, it made his face the face of Bond
Yeah,
rather than having where we've had 3 different Spider-Men, we've had 3 different Batman, we've had all these reboots. Greg kind of kept things grounded for 007, And so for a lot of fans, that was Bond. They don't know a Bond prior to that. They didn't, they haven't gone back like many of us, real fans. I'm kidding. No, but they just haven't gone back yet to revisit some of the
Yeah.
older films and see what those actors bring to the table. And rightfully so. I know when I was younger, I had 20 million things on my mind. There was sports, there was music,
Yeah.
I was playing in a band and art. And so you have distractions in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I do think it's important that it's for Bond, like you say, compared to those other franchises, it wouldn't be any good if we kept chopping and changing Bond actors all the time. I think you do need a good run to establish it because then it just sort of lessens the brand, I think, if you keep changing it. And I know obviously George and Tim, we would have probably liked them there for longer, but the idea when you cast a Bond is you're not just here for one film, you're here for like three at least, really. That's the idea.
And I think over time they've learned that. They
Yes.
figured out that that has to be kind of the formula. Um, because I'm still going to say this to the till I die. And I know Cubby's gone on record and he said, no, we wanted Timothy Dalton from the beginning. I'm not buying it. I'm not
They
buying it
wanted
at all.
Pierce, didn't they?
They wanted
Yeah.
Pierce,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that stupid contract with Remington Steele
Yeah.
prevented it. So they had to backpedal and they had to instill confidence not only in the actor, but in the investors and in the audience that Tim was going to deliver a quality
Yeah.
performance and something that they were confident in. So I know they had to kind of backpedal a little bit there, but it was Pierce. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
So
I'm glad we got both because Tim
true,
is an unbelievable Bond, and I
true.
think Pierce he would I'm sure he would have been great in those films, but the fact we got both is that's what we want, isn't it?
It is. So knowing everything that we know about the film now, Casino Royale, would you risk trading out Casino Royale for a fifth Brosnan film?
These are very controversial questions. The politician's answer will be very different. So I've got to be honest here.
Yes,
I would have preferred a more gritty Brosnan film than taking the baby out with the bathwater.
correct.
Because I think it wasn't everyone now with hindsight because of the success of Casino Royale looks back and thinks it was a breath of fresh air. That is true. When I came out of Down of the Day, I enjoyed it, but I thought this is getting a little bit silly. The next one, though, in 2 years, I'm sure they'll just make it more serious. A bit like they did, after Moonraker, they went to For Eyes Only. And
Right.
because Pierce Brosnan was in the public eye, he was like, "Yeah, I'm doing another one." I think there was unfinished business there, and I know he's always felt a bit sort of aggrieved about that. Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because I don't really. It's easy enough to say I'd change this, I'd change that, but at the time, yeah, certainly I would have loved maybe another two Pierce films because Roger and Daniel went into their mid-50s, didn't they? By the time they ended.
Yeah, I think, and ultimately, you probably agree with this, but I think it was a panic button move that they got the licensing for Casino, and
Yes,
as
correct.
soon as they got that, they were like, "Oh, that's it. We're doing that.
Yeah,
We're doing Casino full reboot." Like that, they didn't even think about anything else. It was just we got the rights back. Let's do Casino. They didn't
yes,
think about where they were at in the 10 year. I mean, obviously, Die Another Day did fantastic at the box office.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Like there was no reason to just kind of brush Brosnan off and reboot at this point. And so that's where I sit back on this and I go, man, what else would we have gotten? Would we have gotten something like Everything or Nothing with nanobots? Would we have gotten, would that game have gone into, potentially a movie script versus a video game? You know what I mean? Like there's so many
yeah,
possibilities of what if, and even if it wasn't that game, of course, it could have been 20 other ideas and titles that were still left up that they
yeah.
could have pulled from to get that grittiness to line up a Casino Royale to be possibly better than what it was or is.
This is quite refreshing, Mr. Blofeld, because as a Bond fan, it's weird. You grow up loving Bond
Mhm.
because of the films of Roger and Sean. Not you wouldn't grow up loving Bond because of Casino Royale, would you? Like if that was your first film, I would say that is it. Everyone agrees it's a brilliantly made film, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't say that that's a typical Bond film. It's like a one-off, and I think like it goes back to what you just said. It's a because it was sort of a I don't know a reflex reaction to the critical perception of Die Another Day. You've got to have a plan though, haven't you? You can't just start again without pieces being in place, and that's where it sort of started to unravel. If you're going to do an actual sequels, effectively, you've got to have them better organized and better set up than what they did. So I think if they'd, it's fine to go down the direction they did, but they needed to have got it all mapped out. But like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Come on, guys, unless you're going to map it all out from the beginning in stop changing it as you go along. And then you already mentioned they got the rights to Casino Royale, right? Let's do that. They get the rights to Spectre, right? Straight away, let's do that. And
Right.
stop, think, are we doing this correctly? Is more important, I think.
Right. And that's where I feel like they've faltered. It's been more of a knee jerk reaction
Yes.
to uh, uh like a gift of power, if you will, by receiving the rights back. And I'm sitting here to myself thinking like, and I'm glad you brought up Spectre because that's a perfect analogy. They saw what happened with Casino at the fact that they just kind of brushed Pierce off. Like the fans
Yeah,
were not,
yeah,
they
true.
were
Yeah, yeah,
not thrilled with that at
yeah,
all. Even after the release, people were like, even if they liked Casino, they were still like, I mean, that was cool, but like Brosnan,
yeah,
like you guys did him dirty one time in the 80s and then you did him dirty again
yeah.
at the so it was like bringing him in and his ending, it was like two bookends of just a mess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And
hadn't
I
thought
yeah,
about that. You're absolutely right. Before he got it and after he got it. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah,
Nah,
it's just I know people are watching this. It always gets in polls the best Bond ever, Casino Royale. But I struggle with that because if you're going to throw on a Bond film, this is one you can't just throw on in the back. You've got to really concentrate, and it's so emotional. It's a great film. Let's not get that wrong. But I wouldn't say it is a typical Bond film. It's a one-off, and they have had one-offs before. People will say probably my favorite Bond film, License to Kill, is a one-off, but
mm,
it's still got all the hallmarks that you want in a Bond film. It's got the locations, it's got Q in a big role, gadgets, it's got incredible action, incredible stunts, it's got Moneypenny very shortly, and it's
yeah,
got the villain, it's got the Bond girls, and it's got humour. So I think it always irks a little bit how much more loved Casino Royale is than others, but I don't want that to take away the love that viewers have for it. Because if you like something, I'll bat for it. I think it's more if you're going to attack License to Kill, if you're going to attack Man with the Golden Gun for being silly, that's when I get, well, come on. There's a Bond for everyone. There's a style for everybody.
correct. So let's talk about emotions exactly here because I know we talked about how Casino Royale is an emotional film. So tell me, what was the emotional impact that this film had on you from the first viewing to your most recent viewing? And has it grown more or less bittersweet over time?
That's a really, really good question. Yeah. I'll try and answer it as quickly as possible.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So when I first watched it, I was like a few others, I was a bit, not sure about this, not sure about Daniel Craig, not sure about the direction they're going in. So I think when I first saw it, I was like, oh, wow, it was better than I thought. It was better. It didn't feel very Bond, but it was still a better film than I was expecting. So I was reasonably happy with it. I think the emotional stakes, like I wasn't quite ready for that, I'll be honest, at the time. I was like looking at the kids in the audience who were watching, I'm like, are they really interested in a sort of love story in Venice at the end and no end fight with a henchman and the baddie's already been killed? I was like, what's going on here? I know it's in the book and all this, but they have gone a long way over the years, haven't they? So that was the sort of main thing. Then I think as the films went on, I was like, oh, this has caused all that. this has caused the quantum I really like now. I've gone full 180 on that. But recently, I think it was when I watched it again in lockdown with my wife. She absolutely loved Casino Royale, and I got swept up in the romance of it more when I watched it with her. I got
Mhm.
swept up in the story, and I thought, do you know what? Don't judge it on what's come before, what's come after. This is a damn good film, and I'll just enjoy it for that. So I think where I'm at right now is I don't think it is one of my favorite Bond films at all, but I think it is a really worthy addition to the canon. And yes, I probably like it more than I ever have done at the moment.
Well, that's a really strong answer, my friend, because I see where you've tied that in to, and time will allow it
Yes,
to tie
absolutely.
into and to kind of leach into our personal lives more, and we
Yes.
we create those connections where we have that fond memory, like you have this now fond memory of recently watching it with your wife and getting caught up more emotionally with it. These are the This is why I asked the question that I asked, because I know watching it the first time around, for me, it was very like, huh.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was a great action movie. Was it a Bond movie?
Yes. Yeah, this is it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I, and like you said, trying not to think about compare it to the films prior to or after, or see where it all ties up or ties in. The movie itself for me definitely has grown on me and raised in my ranks significantly to where I think it's just out of my top five at this
Okay,
point.
well that's pretty high then, isn't it? That's pretty high.
It is, but I mean, because it is lacking certain things. We don't have Q, we
Yeah.
don't have uh the car with the. I mean, we have the car for what, like, I think on screen it's like what, 17 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's something
Yeah.
absurd that they wasted that DB9 S
It had
model.
the defibrillator, didn't it? I suppose.
Uh, I don't count
No,
that.
no. That's not like a fun gadget, is it, really? Is it?
Yeah. You know what though? I guess we could count that. We maybe we should
Yeah.
count the defibrillator as a gadget for the film, because it's not your standard gadget for sure.
No.
But the movie wasn't standard. It was,
No.
like you said, very much a one-off, and that comes back around to that full circle of like, oh, we got the rights. Let's do this immediately. It
Yeah.
felt That element felt rushed. Like they could have put a little more thought into it. There could have been maybe something else besides a defibrillator. Maybe his
Yeah.
gun had something in it that was a little more grounded. Kind of like the Skyfall gun when they brought
Yes.
that
Yeah.
into play. Like that in Casino Royale would have been like, okay, cool, more grounded. It's still a gadget. We got something,
Yeah.
but defibrillator is not very exciting.
I also think quite a few Bond fans seem to be getting a bit confused over the timeline of it because now we've got First Light and the game, and he's trying to become a double O agent, and
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Oh, we've already had that with Casino Royale." Well, no, we haven't. All we
No.
had was 2 minutes in the pre-title sequence. He is a double O agent for the whole film. So the fact that we don't need that, oh, we can't have Q, he's not Bond yet, we don't have a theme. Like, no, he is. He's just
Yeah.
he's just learning, okay, on the job as a fairly new agent. But make no mistake, he's meant to be at absolute expert level, isn't he? By the time
Right.
we start the missions now, so I'd. I'm not saying I would want the new films to be him getting, years and years and loads of films of him before he becomes 007. But I do think it's great for the books and the game to explore that because the films, as far as I'm concerned, have only done that for the pre-title sequence of Casino Royale.
Right. Now here you have a question for me.
Yeah, you had a couple actually. I mean, some of them have linked into what we've already said. One of the things we've debated about on our channel quite a lot is it's another thing. Everybody says the ending, oh, it's the greatest ending, and it's Bond becomes Bond. I want someone to explain why that is so, because I can't quite understand how shooting a guy in the knee and then saying the catchphrase. I personally don't understand how. Is it just manipulation with the catchphrase and the Bond theme? Because I can't see anything else that shows me he's learnt any lessons or anything.
Well, I think it's
I don't
When you
know. I
break it
genuinely, I
down
don't.
like that,
Everybody else, but I'm the one who's in the minority here. I don't know.
yeah, I think when you break it down like that, Tom, it's a bit
I'm being a bit
rudimentary.
cynical. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're being a little cynical there. No, but you're not wrong at the same time. I think, and this has maybe been said in the past, but I think this is the hill that I'm going to die on, at least for this. I don't think it's the best ending. I think it's a very strong ending, and I think it's a very emotional ending because, and this has been said before, you've waited the whole movie to hear the Bond theme song. You've waited the whole movie to hear him say Bond, James Bond, and he does right at the end. How he goes about it is kind of badass.
Oh
He's
yeah, yeah. It's a
he
great
snipes
delivery.
the guy on his own property. I mean, and he just rolls up on him with a UMP in a three-piece suit. Like,
Yeah,
oh hey, by the way, I got your number. I know where you live, and
yeah, yeah,
James Bond, James Bond. Like it plays well. I
yeah,
don't think it's the best, but I think it's just that it's one of the tropes that they knew they had to give to everybody, to the audience.
yeah,
They had to do it. And waiting until the very last minute to give it to you is that fist pumping out of the theater.
yeah.
Yes, I got it. That's what I wanted to hear. And then the music cues in.
Because I think what I just assumed when the first time I saw it, the end of Casino Royale, right, okay, everyone was like, yeah, right, Bond's back now. And then we just assumed that, well, the next one will just be a normal Bond film and he'll be going to see M, going to see Q. I think that's what most people thought. But I think the producers were like, well, no, people love that tone of that film. And this is still the direction we're going to go in. There's still story to explore. And I can see the merits of that now. I think the Mr. White, I just think if Mr. White was made to be that mysterious figure still, and he hadn't been the one shot at the end, I think that would have made him more the big baddie that we're trying to get. Because I do think in Quantum, his when he's being tortured, sort of, I think he's brilliant in that scene, and I think they made him into a much more interesting character as they went along. So yeah, I think there's lessons, good lessons, and lessons they could have done a bit better with hindsight, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is always 2020, but at the end of the day, had they mapped this out like we talked about, if
Yes,
they knew that Craig was going to do 4 or 5 films, they could have
yeah,
mapped this out a lot better. And instead,
correct,
the
correct,
writer's strike hit in the middle of Quantum, and that changed a lot of things.
yeah.
The director Mark, help me out.
Oh, Forster,
Thank you, Mark
yeah,
Foster. He even said that they had to do a lot of like changes on the fly. They're rewriting stuff because
yeah,
of time. Quantum was its own separate thing.
yeah,
We didn't realize what it was going to be until years after it was said and done, and now it's kind of in its renaissance, if you will. Everyone is really
yeah,
fallen in love with it all over
yeah.
again. I still think General Madrano would have been a much better villain versus the
Mm.
piddly little Mr. Green. I think, yeah, Madrano should have been the villain in that 100%. All right, so let's see. I'm going to give you a magic wish, sir.
Yeah, go on.
I'll give you a magic wish for Casino Royale. You can't take anything away that's in the final cut,
Okay.
but what what would you add that you feel has always been missing from this film? Because I know my answer. But I want to hear
Yeah,
your answer.
well, I've probably again touched on it before. I think a quick one would be you could have Q in it, but I'm glad in a way, Ben Whishaw had his own sort of thing, didn't he, in Skyfall, which is a great introduction. So I think the main thing I'd do is I'd keep Le Chiffre until the end because I just think it as a Bond fan watching a Bond film, when your main villain is made to look pathetic and is shot with the whole final act, he's not even in it.
Yeah.
Yes, we get Getler and we've got Mr. White in the background, but we don't know these characters, do we? We don't. Bond hasn't even spoken to them, so there's no relationship there. I think if he was still alive and we had more of a big action scene, yes, the fall of the house in Venice is good and it works for the story, but I think like when you see the trailers building up, they always leave out. Well, we were saying they always leave out one massive epic action scene at the end they don't show that. And then when we're watching, it was like, oh no, they're right. That's it. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I'd do. I'd keep Lashifa in because I do think he's a brilliant character, but
Yes.
I don't I don't see him as an amazing Bond villain because he's under the thumb, he's made to look weak, and Bond is just laughing at him the whole time he's being tortured. So I think if he'd have gone on till the end, I don't know how they'd have worked that into the plot. Somehow they'd have had to do it. And then the thing at the end could have been, well, you've beaten Lashif, but what about Vesper and what about Mr. White? And that's where we can go in the next film. So that's probably the big thing I'd change.
Gotcha. And see, I didn't even think about Lashif because at the end of the day, he just felt like he always was the weak middleman.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah,
Mads Mikkelsen played him great,
yeah. He's so good,
and,
isn't he? Yeah,
and he has some intimidation and he has some power to him.
yeah,
But in the grand scheme of things, he was a minor player.
yeah,
He was a minnow in a Shark Tank.
yeah, yeah,
And the Sharks really let him know pretty quick, like, hey,
yeah.
we're not going to we're not going to we do not tolerate failure. See, for me, I think the thing that would have helped give Casino a full, just well rounded it out a little bit better, was when Vesper gets kidnapped and he goes scurrying off and gets in his Aston Martin and he peels out of the parking space and you see like the night light on his face and his eyes are glowing blue and he's coming up and he makes like I think it's 4 turns before he sees her in the middle of the road and crashes the car. See, to me, there's a whole car chase there
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that is
yeah,
completely lost. Like
yeah, yeah,
that, there should have been other cars on the road that were trying to like take him out, like back and forth kind of a thing.
yeah, yeah,
And we could have gotten at least one car gadget. One
yeah,
doesn't have to be anything like bombastic, but I mean, I don't know, saw blades coming out of the little
yeah,
slit vents, something that comes out
yeah.
so he can like fend off cars trying to hit him on either side. Who knows? But that to me was the biggest missed element.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that because I think it would make the impact at the end just seeing her in the middle of the road even more. Because you're right, it's like about 10, 15 seconds of driving. And then, if they'd have had a whole thing where he's done brilliantly, he's got rid of loads of bad guys, like you say, he's a few of them have gone off the road, a few of them have been shot at, and then some gadgets used. And then after that, you're like, yes, he's winning. No, oh gosh. And then, because that moment, you've got to admit, the moment where he sees her and spins up is pretty epic, isn't it? And that the whole audience were like, whoa. So to have that, you're absolutely right. If that was at the end of an amazing car chase, it would have been even more famous, I think, in movie history.
I'll agree, and that's all it needed.
Yeah.
That's really all it needed
It's
because
only 2, 3 minutes more. That's it.
yeah, just something like could have been a couple baddies with machine guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, almost something similar to the Quantum opening car chase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
very similar.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because that is a good, very visceral car chase, isn't it?
It is, but
Yeah.
it didn't even need to be because that car chase again, no gadgets.
Yeah.
Like, we
True.
didn't get any
Yeah.
gadgets. He ripped the door off,
Yeah.
which was that was
Just
I
a
mean that was
machine gun.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was cool and it was unique, but again, no gadgets. So it was like
Yeah.
there could have been something similar to that without being the same, or who knows, maybe they could have just literally used that concept
Yeah.
for a nighttime car chase through a construction site versus
Yes.
daytime, and problem
So I
solved.
think you've got to when you watch these scenes back, you're like, what distinguishes this from just an action film? It's got to be something more for Bond. And I do think the scene in Casino Royale, the chase at the airport, that is Bond. Bond doing stuff like
Mhm.
riding up the runway thing and then jumping
Yes.
off onto that and then putting the bomb on him and all that's like Bond. That gets Bond because he does stuff that no one else can do or no one else would think of. And we think, oh gosh, he's had it, and then no, the bomb is attached to the guy, and then
Yep.
so I do. There are ways around it without having to go silly, which is obviously they didn't want to do that.
Right. So I think we can sit here and nitpick this movie apart
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
we
yeah,
as
yeah.
we have been, and that's easy to do. But, did you have another question for me, sir?
Well, again, we've probably touched on it. It would be, do you think the franchise was in a better place in 2002 uh, than it is now because of that period that Casino Royale started with? So do you think we're in a better place?
Yes, I
Good,
do.
right, good. Yeah, I agree. I
I
agree.
do. I do. And that's a great question. That's a really great question because you know, for the first time in the history of the franchise, the character's dead. Like
Yeah,
he
I know. Yeah,
full blown died.
yeah,
And I've talked with other people about this, and my I think the general consensus of the community is that the Craig era just is its own bubble.
yeah,
Here,
yeah.
period. Like you have to take all of it, even Casino Royale. Like Casino Royale, I don't see that as like the start of the franchise, if you will.
No,
I
no.
kind of have a hard time with that because it continues into. There's so many other things that tie into it with Mr. White,
Yeah.
that never you don't see Mr. White or even that character pop up in any of the Connery, Moore,
No,
Dalton,
no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brosnan. It's all self-contained.
Yeah.
So we did get a start to finish kind of a story arc for Daniel Craig, and as much as I utterly loathe the ending of No Time to Die,
Yeah.
um, I also think it has one of the best pre-title sequences of the franchise. That's No Time to Die. That's a whole other thing we're talking about. But yes, I think we're in a better place, and ultimately, I feel like we're in a better place because the gap from Die Another Day to Casino Royale versus No Time to Die. We also have First Light as this buffer,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it's been a wonderful buffer. My God, it's already in contention for Game of the Year.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's if you haven't played First Light, get off your keister and go get a copy. It's
Oh,
incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
yeah. I think I'm with you because I think even if, like me, I didn't like the ending of No Time to Die, the fact that Bond dies, I just think is actually right. Well, we've got a clean slate now, and you
Right.
can treat those five films as their own entity. So
Mm-hmm.
there's actually more freedom. If, say, it had just ended like a normal Bond film, then you're like, well, should we? We'll have to keep some of the characters. It's just and where he's meant to be old now, and obviously it's very difficult to you write yourself in corners, don't you, with him having a child, and can't really keep that up unless you've got a new actor. So I think it is a great time to be a Bond fan. Personally, I didn't know there was a Bond community until after, well, just before No Time to Die came out.
Mm,
So the gap between films hasn't felt as long, and I know we're still waiting. But because we've been exciting and celebrating anniversaries, we've got so many Bond books at the moment as well. It's just
yeah.
the game is endlessly playable, and we now have a new direction. We definitely know that there is going to be progress made with the film. So yeah, I think we are in a better place. If you look, still certainly in England, even if there's a whiff of casting rumours, it's like on the main BBC News. So
Yeah.
Bond is still big, make no mistake. As soon as there's an announcement of a new Bond actor, it'll be like he's never gone away and he's bigger than ever. And I think First Light has helped that, and it's shown that this is a character. Remember, there's not been a video game for 13 years. It's got no right to be successful, but that shows just how really, I don't know, ingrained in our culture the character is. That they had to get it right though, and the gameplay, the graphics. I don't know great much about games, but it is winning people. It's winning non-Bond fans, and it's going to introduce them. So I'm really glad that I think that'll help the new film even more personally.
1000%, because we finally have the Royal Navy Bond
Yes.
that we've never
Yeah.
touched on. We where there are people now clamoring for Patrick Gibson to play
Yeah.
Bond in
Yeah.
the next film, and
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
he must have done something right, mustn't he? I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
yeah,
Really incredible.
he knocked it out of the park, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
He gets Bond.
yeah,
Yeah.
he does. He nailed the nuances and the
Yeah.
movements, and that's something that when I was playing the game, out in LA last a couple months ago,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. He went to the thing. Yeah.
I
Brilliant.
did in a great time. But when I was playing that, just the way like Bond walks down a flight of stairs. It pulled me out of, I'm in a video game.
Yeah.
It pulled me out of that, and it was like, that's Bond.
Yeah, it's the
That's that.
swagger, isn't it?
Yes.
You can't really describe it until you see it, like the way Connery walks and
Yes.
some of the I don't know, some of the looks of Roger Moore. You
Hmm.
can't really, you have to almost invent it yourself. And I think straight away I thought this guy gets Bond and it's joyful, he's enjoying it. And because when he's younger as well, he's more cocksure, isn't he? He's like
Hmm.
absolutely no risk. He doesn't care what happens in a good way though. Not a sort of the world can burn way. He's
Right.
like, I'm loving this. I'm not scared of anything that's coming. I'm going to take it head on.
I think this is going to kind of wrap us up, because I think Casino Royale as a whole, after looking at it over the past 20 years, I know I can personally say that it changed the course of what we now think a Bond movie can be. I think it opened everyone's eyes to think about James Bond and who he is to men, to women, to every culture around the world. It's not just a cookie cutter suave guy who slaps ladies, smokes cigarettes, and drinks too much scotch.
Yeah.
Craig really unlocked the psychological aspect of what Bond could be. And that was something that we just hadn't explored before. So, my final question to you, Mr. Thomas, is if you had to pick one cue for Bond 26 to take from Casino Royale, what would that cue be?
Gosh, that's a really good question.
Take your time.
Yeah, a cue is in like a beat from the film, effectively.
Correct. Like, what is something that Casino
Yeah,
Royale
yeah,
did that you feel like they should at least pay attention to that moving into Bond 26 as a reboot film?
yeah. I think I would have to say the sort of the world, the travel, the locations, the sort of Bond immersing himself in the culture of these different places. Because I think they lost that a bit towards the latter end of the Craig run. You know, like going to Shanghai in Skyfall, we didn't really see any Chinese people, for instance, and No Time to Die. Yes, material was great, but the rest we didn't really get into the culture. So I think it just feels like he's in the real world, and I think they did. That's one of the best things they did. They did it with the villains as well. You know, you felt like Abano and Le Chiffre were part of that underworld living amongst us, and I think that's one of the things of Quantum and the organization Quantum they did brilliantly. So if they could try and replicate that, I think because it doesn't have to be so serious, but your villains need to be a threat. Bond can do the humor. Some of the other characters like Q can do the humor. The villains need to be real world and scary. So I think they do that really well.
Great answer. Absolutely great answer, man. Well, I think on that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think, Casino Royale, having 20 years into the history of the canon of the Bond franchise, has shown us all a lot of different things to consider, to appreciate, and to even question and debate sometimes, which is what strikes up some of these fun conversations. But at the end of the day, I think most people would say it's still a top 10 Bond film, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
And Thomas, I really appreciate you coming on here, man.
No, thank you for asking us, and it's been great. I'm looking forward to seeing you at some of these Bond events in London. And yeah, I'm sure we will be collaborating again very soon. I've really enjoyed it, Chris.
We will, man. Yeah, make sure. So, how can people find you, real quick?
Yeah, so it's really 007. So I think most of our handles on social media, like Instagram, Facebook, X, as it were. I mean, people don't really seem to use that anymore, but it's a really 007 pod. So if you just search that, so we've got our YouTube channel as well, and then we've got so things like that. You'll see more like the location videos, interviews. The podcast is used for some of that, but our big reviews, which are like 20 episodes, some of them, they're really long. That is only a podcast thing. So yeah, there's that, and yeah, Instagram, of course, and the social media. We're always involved with that, and in real life, like you say.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video here right now. Thomas, again, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure. We will connect soon. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, Merry Christmas, 007.